Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen, back from Columbus, Ohio, land of the Buckeyes. And want to talk about former Ohio State quarterback Terrell Pryor. Now, as you know, Pryor got in trouble with the NCAA for selling Ohio State memorabilia. Ultimately, he was forced off the team and went in the supplemental draft to the Oakland Raiders. Pryor comes out now and says he only did it because he was in desperate need for his family, selling uniform gear, collecting thousands of dollars because his mother's rent was in arrears and his mother and sister were freezing because they had no heat. Who do you trust? The word is that, in fact, Pryor did give money to his family so they could be sustained with acceptable living conditions. But he also ostensibly had rich, lavish tastes in clothes and other items. And he says he's writing a book. I wonder if the crayons will last him the whole book.
What, he had 4 teammates too that were involved in that, right?
A number of
torn off the team.
Another number of players were expelled.
You wonder how much money are they making on this?
Well, according to ESPN.com via Sports Illustrated, somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 in signing fees. They all have agents and they're picking up money. So now, this is not to say that the universities and the NCAA are making hundreds of millions of dollars off these kids. They get a scholarship and they get something of an education because most of them or many of them don't graduate, but they don't get living expenses. And that's tough for these kids when a lot of their peers, live a better lifestyle than they do.
Yeah, you wonder how they're getting through school too, because most of them, like Kentucky showed, most of their players weren't even going to class. But I guess it was all right because it was a certain time of year, and by the time they catch up with you, your season's over. So
right, but for the most part, in the football realm, in the NFL, you don't come out after a year. So you have to advance several years through college. I don't exactly know how you get promoted. You have to earn a minimum number of credits, and you wonder how some of these players do that.
Well, in schools like that, Ohio State, you know what they're doing. Half of them aren't doing much. They're taking these classes where they can probably take it from their room, half the players.
Well, the big news locally has been the suicide of Junior Seau, as Seau shot himself in the chest. And the fallout for the National Football League is going to be tremendous. There's already a class action suit about traumatic encephalopathy or brain damage after concussions. More news comes out about this every day. What did the NFL know? When did they know it? What have they done to prevent it? Obviously, they've changed things like rules on the kickoffs. People say, why didn't the Patriots draft a kickoff returner? And one rumor is the NFL is going to get rid of kickoffs. So you don't need a kickoff returner if they're not going to have kickoffs anymore.
Plus, they're kicking from 5 yards closer, so most of the kicks are going into the end zone. That's why we let the Pats let Tate go last year. He's an end-in returner because they weren't going to get as many returns.
So the one rumor is that the reason Seau shot himself in the chest is because that he was hoping that they could use his brain to be examined for evidence of brain injury. And it's been seen in other National Football League players as well as NHL players, particularly the enforcers who fight all the time.
That's sad. I remember when he came to the Patriots, he had the best attitude out of any player. Belichick said that the other day. He was unbelievable, always happy, always in a great mood.
Well, there was a great quote in the news the other day from Rodney Harrison, and Harrison apparently, when he joined the Chargers, asked Seau why he practiced so hard. And Seau's reply was, they pay me to practice. I play the games for free.
But how could you do that, Ron? Knowing you have your mother, you're leaving your mother and your children. I mean, he had to really be in bad shape.
Well, many of the players who have traumatic brain injury, in addition to memory loss, they present with depression, and sometimes it just shows up as a suicide event. They talked to Troy Brown about how he felt after leaving the NFL, and he said, it's a big change. You have a routine that you're going through for years with your peers, working out, preparing for games, preparing for the season, and then that's gone. There's nothing to replace that. Now, he transitioned into broadcasting, and he's doing okay, But he said, I could understand how a lot of players would feel profound emptiness without that.
Right, and you see a lot of these old-time football players now can't even pay for rent. I mean, that's sad. It's sad. A lot of this I blame on the teams, too, that they don't have a situation where it's set up when they sign someone in regard to the money situation, advisors.
Well, and I think that the contemporary players, for the most part, don't feel much obligation to the players that went before them. And as you said, many of those players are destitute and obviously physically limited. If you've seen Earl Campbell in a wheelchair, he's so crippled from all the hits he took.
How about Ted Johnson? He started this years ago.
Right. Well, on the other side of the coin, the Patriots start off-season training activity tomorrow with a rookie camp. And it'll be interesting to see how the Patriots' young players come along. First of all, the NFL draft, we think, was pretty successful. The Patriots, as they got a couple of stud defensive players in the first round.
Yeah, they're looking good now. I mean, both of them are very active. Both of them attack the quarterback. They're real quick, and they should really help them out. I would imagine that at linebacker now, I don't know what they're going to be doing with spikes, because you have Mayo over the middle. And was it Wilcox? What's his name?
Hightower,
Wilcox. Hightower. I mean, they say he can do everything. He can defend the pass, rush the quarterback. So where are you going to play him? But last year they moved Mayo to outside linebacker at times.
Well, you can't have too many good players, and as we see every season in the National Football League, there's a lot of injuries. And the NFL's a copycat league. The Giants had tremendous success with the front seven. The Patriots are going after that. They go after Chandler Jones from Syracuse, big athletic defensive end type player who can rush the quarterback. Hasn't had as much production as athleticism so far, but they expect great things from him. And they drafted some other interesting players too.
Arkansas, they're defensive end from Arkansas.
Jake Paquette from Arkansas, who was a productive player. In the 7th round, they got the kid Alfonso Denard from Nebraska, who had a run-in with the law and presumably dropped from either the 2nd or 3rd round down to the end of the draft. And they drafted a rugby player from Ohio State. I think his name is Ebner. And the YouTube videos of the kid, he looks like he's playing a different sport than everybody else.
How about that 2nd round pick, though? They didn't even have, a lot of scouts didn't have him in the top 100 players.
Well, again, I think that's in
from Illinois, right?
Tavon Wilson from Illinois. He supposedly was the consummate team player, played out of position sometimes at safety, playing cornerback when he was more of a safety. He did whatever they wanted him to do. He had a lot of skill, but maybe people felt he was out of position. A lot of other teams supposedly rated him a lot lower than the Patriots, but they also said that he had preseason visits to 6 or 7 other teams.
Yeah, so San Diego was one, and they were picking behind them, so they didn't want to take a chance. That's what I heard. But I think Darling's going to be a key for them coming back this year. They need that real good cornerback. He's tall, about 6'1", so he's going to be a key. But, I mean, let's face it, they have one of the best teams in football right now. And with those 2 first-round draft picks in defense, their offense is solid now. Copen's coming back.
Well, they added Lloyd at wide receiver, and they got Gaffney back, who was another productive guy.
Stalworth, too.
Stalworth. So you'd have to say that Ocho Cinco doesn't look like a good bet to make the team.
And Gonzalez, slot receiver. In case they don't sign Welker, really. They have Edelman, too, as a slot receiver.
Right,
so.
Yeah. Well, now, obviously, we saw the pictures of Wes Welker and Tom Brady with his faux hawk.
What the hell is Brady doing? You know what it is? Gisele's got him going nuts, I'll tell you. You see that hairdo?
Well, I
looked like a 4-year-old kid that mother's dressing up.
No, he looked like it was Mahatma Gandhi's hat, but it wasn't a hat, it was hair.
He's an idiot. He really is Brady. I mean, if he wasn't with Giselle, you think he'd wear his hair like that? I mean, come on.
Well,
she's driving him nuts, I think.
Looked like he fell in an oil slick. Anyway.
That $25 million home helps, though, in L.A.
Well, when Roger Maris was chasing the home run record in 1961, he was constantly hounded by reporters. And Mickey Mantle had advice for him when times got tough. He said, Roger, hit him with your wallet. So that's the way it goes. Now, there are other news about the Patriots with apparently the war of words between New York Jets cornerback Darrelle Revis and Bill Belichick. Of course, Belichick's not saying anything. Revis says Belichick's a jerk. And apparently Belichick had some unkind words for Revis after the Patriots had scored 37 points against, quote, the league's #1 defense. And Revis just doesn't like it. He feels like he gets no respect. Patriots give him plenty of respect. They don't throw at him.
Well, I think he's jealous of the Patriots too. I mean, they haven't been to any Super Bowls. You know, the Patriots have been to 5, and 5 with Brady. They've been to 5.
Right, and there's lots of things happening on the Patriots, even though it's the off season. Matt Light retired. Now, we didn't know that during his lengthy career he struggled with Crohn's disease, which is an inflammation disease of the intestine, which really weakens you and makes you lose weight. So I don't know how he possibly was able to play that long with that. And presumably they're going to try Solder, move him over from right tackle over to left. We'll see how that goes.
Well, Vollmer's going to be a key now. You got to hope his back is fine. If Vollmer's back is fine, and you got 2 big studs in both tackles, left and right, you still have Mankins. You have, I don't know, Waters. Did he sign with them?
No. Well, Waters hasn't, I don't think, declared what he's going to do. They signed a former top draft choice, Robert Gallery, from the Raiders. There's an article on him today on ESPN.com Boston. And Gallery says, he's been on losing teams for 8 consecutive years, and he says, I don't want to lose anymore. That's why I came here. I can play, and I want to be on a winner.
Yeah, and Conley, they have Conley back. Conley, with Copen coming back, they're in great shape on the offensive line. Linebackers, they just picked up a third tight end, who's they say is really talented, a very good blocker. They're going to be using him in Solder's spot, because Solder they used as a tight end last year.
Yeah, Fells from the Broncos. Now, Fells had a lot of kind words for Tim Tebow, although he said Tebow's a very genuine guy. He just said it was constantly a circus atmosphere around the team, which he said was a little bit of a distraction. But it seems that new players who come into the Patriots system are always impressed by how cohesive it is, how focused on winning they are. I don't know what their other teams are doing in their off season, but the players who come here from elsewhere seem to really be embraced, and as long as they're all trying to win. You
know what I see, Ron, except for a couple of players over the last several years, players coming in know that Belichick has a system. He's not looking for the stars all the time. He wants a player that fits in, and he's going to give him every chance to be a starter or get playing time. And they all know that coming in. So they all have a good attitude, and they like that type of a system. Well, it does help when you have Brady, a quarterback.
Well, everybody gets more playing time that way, and I think that the point that was made during the offseason is that over 50% of the time, substitution defenses are on the field. So, all right, so you're the starter on first down. That doesn't really mean a whole much more than that.
But what do you think? Do you think that 90% of it's Brady, the success the Patriots have had over the last 10 years?
Well, it's
really 11 years.
To get back to first principles, football is a game of mistakes where 3 out of 4 games are lost. And for the most part, the Patriots have been able to limit those mistakes because Brady has had these incredible touchdown to interception ratios. He hasn't fumbled the ball a lot. The whole team, the Jarvis Green Ellis, he never fumbled in his time here. So the Patriots didn't kill themselves. Obviously, they did kill
themselves. Except in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, they did.
The 2 Super Bowls to the Giants, those 2 games. You talk about a dynasty, and your history as a team and coach, and Brady as a quarterback. 2 really bad breaks in those 2 games cost them. That pass back when they were undefeated, that one pass that Manning completed, and the Welker dropping that pass. 2 passes cost them.
Right.
The 2 Super Bowls.
Well, as we talk about with our basketball players, people focus on the end of a game. Somebody makes a big play, they kick a field goal, whatever, but there's a drop pass earlier, or a punt that is shanked and goes 20 yards, setting up field position. So any play from the first play of the game to the first play of the fourth quarter can be the game-winning play.
But you're talking about making the breaks, right, Ron? Their game plan against the Giants was to strip the football. You could see they were stripping the football more in that Super Bowl game than any other game during the year. They got 3 fumbles from stripping the ball. But one, they recover it, they have 12 men on the field. The other 2, the Giants are lucky enough to recover it. You know, and they made the mistakes. And then Ninkovich jumping offside when it would have been 4th down in a key situation. They would have had to punt the ball.
Well, the difference between being a champion and being the runner-up is execution.
But the one thing that gives me, I really feel good, I think the Patriots are more talented than the Giants. And the Giants at the end of the year were just dominating everyone. Green Bay, New Orleans. I mean, they were dominating these teams. The Patriots actually outplayed them. So that makes me feel good, you know, for the future. The Patriots are young. The one player you got to worry about is Brady, the leader of the team.
Well, even though we get excited about the so-called skill position players, the games always get one up front. You win on the offensive and the defensive line, and I think they're doing what they can to enhance both lines. We didn't even talk about Marcus Cannon.
Right. I mean, Cannon, 6'4", 357 last year. He had the cancer, but he's recovered. He could be a stud in the middle of that lineup. If Waters leaves, he'll slip right in there. And you got Vollmer, Solder, Mankins, Copen, and Conley as the sub. I mean, Conley can play anywhere. So they're in great shape in that offensive line.
Well, we look forward to off-season training activities, and we'll be right back.
Athlete Training Tips by Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Welcome to Training Tips. My name is Scott Duggan, strength coach here at Athletic Evolution in Woburn, Mass. I'm going to take you through a couple tips here through our generic workout, what we do with our athletes, take you through our warm-up with mobility, into our agility and reaction drills, and then we're going to finish with some strength tips. I'm here with Chris Zardes, one of our other strength coaches. He's going to help us take you through our foam rolling and warm-up piece. When our athletes first come in, if they have some free time, they're going to foam roll. What that's going to do is when your muscles get tight from previous workouts or previous activities or previous practices, what you do is your muscles get all knotted up and you get those big knots in your legs, whether it's in your quad or your back. And what we're trying to do is we're using this foam roller here to kind of break down those knots, smoothing those muscles out, so we're nice and fluid in our motions. So Chris is going to start. We usually always start with our back. So Chris is going to load his back up. He's going to get his butt off the ground. He's going to cross his arms, and he's just going to roll back nice and easy. He's going to find that spot where his trigger points are, those tight knots, and he's going to stay on those trigger points and roll them nice and easy till they get nice and smooth. From our back, we're going to go up onto our glute and our hip rotators. So what he's going to do is he's going to position his butt up on here. He's going to work his right glute first. He's going to put his foot up on his knee, his right hand back, and all his weight is going to be on that glute. And same thing, you want to find that knot, find that trigger point, and you want to roll it out. There's no set number of rolls that you're going to do. So, you know, it might take 5 rolls to get it out. It might take 25 or 30. You might be nice and really tight, so it may take a couple days or a day off to get those trigger points out. From our glutes, I like to go to our quads, so flip over. Let's go both legs at once. This is usually the biggest muscle that gets knotted up, especially when you're squatting, get into your heavy running stuff, you get those big knots in your quads. So he's gonna roll his quads nice and easy. What I like to do is once you get it nice and smooth, we're gonna load up one leg. So I'm gonna cross my legs, I'm gonna load up that right leg so I can get down there nice and deeper. These are just some basic things. We can do this with our hamstrings, with our IT bands, with all the muscle groups we have. We'll also take some tennis balls out and some softballs and get into those smaller muscles up into our shoulders, up into our pec. I'd just like to thank Chris for coming out and help us. We're gonna move on into our agility and reaction portion. All right, so we're gonna go over our reaction and agility portion tip. I have Dan Reale here. He's one of our strength coaches also. He's gonna help us out. So one of the big things we use here for reaction and agility drills is tennis balls. We can do a bunch of different exercises with this, and it's great because you never know what the tennis ball is going to do. And the tennis ball also bounces, so we can use it for a lot of different reaction drills. Today we're going to work a lateral reaction drill, get Dan moving side to side, tossing tennis balls back and forth. He wants to catch it on the first bounce, and we're going to kind of get him to react to where the tennis ball is going, because I'm not always going to put it in the same place. So he needs to react to it, and he needs to move fast and get there on the first bounce. So let's get started. Back with Chris here, one of our strength coaches. We're going to get into our strength tip of the week. Today we chose to go over core. Core is one of the often overlooked things. If a kid's lifting on his own in a global fitness or in his high school gym, often he's not doing many core exercises. When in sports, core is often one of the first exercises we do here, or we try to incorporate in our program. One of our main core exercises, we use a kettlebell. We call this a kettlebell curl to press out. You want to grab the kettlebell with both hands nice and firm. You're going to sit down into a squat position, weight back on your heels, getting your butt at or below your knees, at or below 90 degrees. Chris is going to bring the kettlebell all the way down, curl it all the way up, and then he's going to press it out nice and slow. He wants to lock his elbows and triceps all the way out at the end, and he wants to make sure he's going all the way down at the bottom. You don't want your elbows resting on your knees or your thighs, and you want to make sure when you're pressing out, you're squeezing your core, squeezing your abs, and you're not letting your back shoot back. When the kettlebell presses out, oftentimes the athlete wants to shoot his back backwards. So what we're doing is we're using our core to stabilize our body and prevent that from happening, and that's kind of the main intention of the exercise. I want to thank everyone for coming out this week. That was our athlete tips of the week here at Athletic Evolution. I'm Scott Duggan, and hopefully you'll stay tuned and join us next time. Thank you.
Athletic Evolution staff of energetic, motivated, and certified professional strength coaches will help you get to the level you aspire to achieve. At Athletic Evolution, it starts with a purpose and ends with your success. Visit our website or drop into our training facility at 78B Olympia Avenue, Woburn, Mass. Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Welcome back. In honor of the help, we have our domestic expert, Lou the Sports Guru, as our special guest for the sports conversation. What's new, Lou?
What's new? The team that Theo built. Let's talk about the Red Sox. They're doing fabulous, aren't they?
Well, what can you say? A couple of years ago, the Red Sox priority was run prevention. I think they turned it into win prevention. They have the third best defense in the league by fielding percentage or something, but I've seen more guys drop pop-ups like they're radioactive in the last week than I've seen in watching the team for years.
Yeah, Theo's just done a terrible job at this team in the last 5 years. Just about every move he's made has been a disaster. You look at start from Lackey, I mean, unbelievable. Crawford, $20 million, Lackey, $18 million. I mean, it's almost a disgrace. Then he goes to Chicago and he's making $3.5 million for 3 years, isn't he?
He should have been wearing a mask when he made them sign that contract. I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, the best move he made so far, or I should say the last good move as well, was putting on the gorilla suit and sneaking out of town, because at least then we ended up with, at the time, was a great signing, was we got Beckett and Lowell, who helped us win a World Series, but I don't know.
Come on, he's already working in the no way out principle, like Kevin Costner in the, I believe it was 1980s movie, was a double agent. He sent us Marlon Byrd, who's hit less than 200 in the last 8 games, and he fields in center field like he's, Stevie Wonder.
Well, he gets thrown out. He was on first base. They hit a gap job. I says, he's definitely scoring. And then when they throw the ball to the relay man, he's not even on third base. He was either sleeping or he's not. For a center fielder, he's real slow. But, I mean, it's unbelievable. Again, as a Yankee fan, I figured that the Sox were going to be the team to beat. I mean, they're showing more and more that they just don't have anything.
As a Yankee fan, you can't even hate the Red Sox right now. They're pitiful.
The Yankees are almost as bad as them, though. That's the problem.
Well, that's the thing. When you look at this, pitching, Tampa's got the pitching. I wouldn't be surprised, at this point if they just,
Well, just think about it position by position. Last weekend, Saltalamacchia dropped a pop-up in consecutive games, and his pass ball led to Cook going onto the disabled list. That's 2 errors and an injury caused by a catcher who's a fringe major leaguer.
That tells you something right there. That actually sounds like a Kevin Costner movie.
And how about Ross in left field? I mean, they're hurting. I mean, they have two of the best outfielders in baseball out of the lineup.
Well,
so they're hurting there. I mean, people say every team has injuries, but those are 2 top players.
Well, and you can't lose your job because you get hurt, unless, of course, the kid who comes up is whacking the ball all over the park. And Youkilis hasn't exactly looked like Brooks Robinson lately.
No, and in the past couple of years, too. I mean, he came up, he was the Greek god of walks, and, yeah, he got on base a lot. He gave you what, at the time, we all thought was the new Red Sox way, was, we're going to work the count, we're going to get the starter of the opposing starter up by the 6th inning, on base percentage, all of that. That looked great for a couple of years. And now, the last couple of years, he just hasn't looked healthy. He hasn't looked proficient. As far as I'm concerned, I say give Middlebrooks the job. And while you're at it, I just say blow this whole thing up. I mean, what is it? The sellout streak? I mean, what would the sellout streak, right? How many no-shows do they have? It's like, yep, another sellout for the Red Sox. And then you see 7,000 empty seats, and you go, well, okay, yeah, they sold out, but who was watching the game?
How about that extra inning game when the Celtics were playing that night at home?
Well, yeah, and then look at what happens.
It was like 10,000 people there at the end of the game.
It was the first time since 1925 that 2 position players ended up pitching at the end of the game.
Yeah, and, Donnell McDonald, I mean, what are you going to say? When you're an outfielder, you're on the mound, just get it over. That's what they tell you to do. You can't say, it's not like the catcher's going to be giving him signs,
I felt bad for him, though. He listened to the double play, too.
Yeah.
And we're forgetting the profound annoyance that is 100 years of Fenway Park. Fans streaming in to see the majesty that is Fenway Park. Yeah. It's a joke. The announcers seem unwilling to grasp reality that this is a bad baseball team right now.
Well, they think the ownership thinks the fans are idiots. Lucchino's number one. He thinks the fans are idiots. They can throw all this at them, and they'll keep coming. But it's a bunch of bull. If they win and they're playing well, the fans will come. And the problem with the Red Sox is Youkilis. Youkilis being hurt the last 2 years. He was their number one player in that lineup. He had an on-base percentage was the highest in the team, I think, for 3 years in a row. He was one of their best clutch hitters, him and Ortiz, for the last few years. And when he got hurt, the team fell apart. Both years when he got hurt, the team fell apart.
I will give credit to Ortiz, who looks absolutely fantastic. He hits lefties like he's Ken Griffey Jr. now. Oh, yeah. And he must have lost 40 pounds. He looks incredible out there.
Oh, yeah, the new svelte guy that he is. He's looking great at the waistline. His bat speed seems like it's back. They can shift it. I mean, the other night, perfect example. Right to shortstop. They want to shift on you. Yeah, it's fine. You just hit it to left field. But, you talk about the extra inning game. Doesn't it make you wonder? They went to Donnell McDonald, and where was Beckett? I mean, for years, everybody wondered why Clemens didn't Game 7 of the 86 World Series. Where was Clemens in Game 7, Why didn't he come out and pitch? That's what anybody would have done. Any stud, any ace. And so now you say, well, okay, fine, Beckett, where was he? Why couldn't you put a starter in? Okay, your bullpen was done. For a game like that, you don't want to destroy your bullpen for like 3 days, to win a game like that. Why not throw a couple of your starters in? What's the answer for that?
Well, first of all, we should define ace. To me, an ace is a guy you want on the mound because he has such great command and stuff that he's likely to win a game and stop losing streaks. I don't see anybody with that definition.
Does anybody resemble that?
Right. CC Sabathia is an ace. The Red Sox right now don't really have an ace.
Well, Beckett doesn't care enough to be an ace. Yeah. Lester got caught up with Beckett's attitude last year. You could see that last year. He started getting more and more aggravated with the umpires every time they didn't call a strike on a close pitch. And Lester's thinking like him. But last year, looking at that team, they really had 3 aces, everybody figured, with Buchholz, him, Beckett, and Lester. But now you look at them, they don't have an ace.
Well,
something happened. I think it's more attitude than anything.
Well, I think Buchholz got confused. He must have thought on a scale of 1 to 10 what kind of pitcher you are. So he said, I'm a 10. Well, his ERA is almost 10. And,
it's really weird what's happened.
But he has gone to the reverse Samson effect, shearing off the long locks and trying to look like a professional athlete instead of Tom Brady.
But they're more and more, I agree with them that they should have got rid of Beckett. They should have traded him. I mean, they wouldn't have gotten much for him because of the $18 million he's getting. They would have had to pay most of his salary. But they should have traded him because you need to get rid of him, especially now with the whole golfing thing and his back and everything else.
Well,
he won't work with the
that fits right in with the
coach. You hear that?
Well, yeah, that goes right in with the fried chicken of last year, though. Wait, I'm golfing?
Well, Valentine tried to bring some order, lighting the fire under Euclid, and then everyone rushed to Euclid's defense. That's not the way we do things around here. Well, the way we do things around here isn't producing money wins. It's the Janet Jackson, "What have you done for me lately" story.
You're right about that.
That was a big mistake by Pedroia. He should have left it alone. And Valentine saw it in Euclid. He saw it, what his attitude was during spring training. And it's because he's hurt. Wow. And he's upset about that, and, he doesn't have that same fire.
Well, if you're hurt, there's no problem. Well, it gets back to the difference between injured and hurt. If you are injured and you cannot play, if Buchholz's back is bothering him and he can't bend over and the ball's staying up, well, then you have to get healthy, go on the DL, do what you have to do. But why just go out there and embarrass yourself?
I worried about Buchholz 2 years ago. I always thought that his wind-up, when he came through, he would really snap through his delivery, and you always worry about him. Now look at his fastball, he's lost 4 miles an hour on his fastball is because of his back. It's that simple. And then, until that gets really healthy, or he's probably really afraid to come through the way he used to with that delivery.
Yeah. Something possibly that could be true. I say, if that's true, then put him in AAA. Are they that much above, hurting people's feelings? Look you know what? Your fastball's got no heat on it. We can't afford to keep trotting you out there and hope that by the time June rolls around, you're going to say, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling a little more comfortable right now. Did you guys ever think that we couldn't wait? It's like all of a sudden now Dice-K might be back.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
Sometimes you have to reinvent yourself as a pitcher because something changes, like Frank Tanana came back from a fireballer to a junk baller, but Buchholz, nobody thinks that that's his situation now.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know, at least, at that point. And you know what? I was going to say something, I guess I will. You talk about the athlete of the 70s, the 60s, and the 70s. Sandy Koufax would throw, he'd start 41 times, he'd have 31 complete games. Obviously, that's not going to happen anymore, but the guys were tougher back then. You didn't just go out there and throw 41 starts and 30 complete games because your manager told you to. You did it obviously because you were talented. Those guys didn't want to come out of the game. They didn't want to miss starts. I remember Mike Torres, of all people, wanting to go to a 4-man rotation back when the Red Sox had a 5 because he wanted to throw more.
Well, I think the corollary to that, however, is I believe that the combined total of wins by Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax after age 30 was 52, and I think Drysdale had 50 of them. So guys want longer careers. So, you pull a lat or you get a sore ankle, got to go on the DL because I got to get the next contract. It's really all about the money.
But they got better. Everything is better now. I think about, back when Bobby Orr, he cartilage tear, okay, pull it out. You got another tear? Okay, pull it out. Your leg's broken, cut it off.
Well, on the other hand, you didn't see the starter or the bullpen guy saying, I have to start, and I can't, if you need me, I'm there for you, instead of Daniel Bardwell, my role is to be a starter. I can't go to the bullpen. I can't pitch today. I can't pitch tomorrow. I can't pitch yesterday. Why is that? Well, because if I can win 10 games as a starter, I can make $7.5 million, because that's a going rate for mediocrity. And if I am a great setup man, I'll make 3.
Another big problem you have, too, nowadays is you don't know who's been on steroids. You don't know who has these great stats because steroids. You don't know if they're off it. Look what happened to the Yankees with A-Rod. It's a disgrace that he's getting all that money, and he's getting the money because he was on steroids. Yeah. Now he's not on steroids. He's an average player at best. Euclid healthy is twice the player A-Rod is now.
Well, you want a more extreme case. Look at Albert Pujols.
Pujols is another one.
Now,
how stupid are the Angels?
I was very surprised.
Is that ridiculous after what happened with A-Rod?
I was very surprised at that.
Another player from the Dominican? Yeah. Come on. How many? You got Sosa, you got Ortiz, you got Ramirez. Where are they all from? Yeah. And who's the one guy who's the agent that has brought him here? Yeah. And he's got caught with steroids.
And they all went off.
He's been prosecuted for steroids.
They've all fallen off. That's the thing. You look at their stats.
And the Angels aren't thinking about that?
Yeah.
They give him Pujols, what, $28 million for like 10 years or whatever it is?
A hell of a lot of money is what they're giving.
I mean, the Yankees got burnt with Giambi, too. It's not just Dominicans, but I'm saying
no, but you're
most
right,
of the top
absolutely right,
Dominican
though. It's that,
players have been proven to be on steroids. It's out.
Anyone who goes back, go on the internet, Google Mark McGwire rookie card. He's a stick. He's a twig. And then at the end of his career, there's a picture of him, coming in the locker room with a towel around his waist. He looks like the Incredible Hulk.
Well, look how much money he made because of it.
Absolutely.
The Cardinals, when he went to the Cardinals, I think he got like $12 million or whatever. Look at how much Sosa got because of it. But the Yankees have been burnt a number of times, and they may have another guy in Teixeira that's been on it, the way he looks.
Well, it makes you wonder,
I mean, you don't know. And you're giving all these big contracts out. But that Pujols contract, the Angels are crazy. Yeah. You didn't see his numbers going down last year, and you give him that big contract?
Well, and I know this has been heating you up all years, the whole concept of you trade for a pitcher, and you give up your top prospect in Montero, and now the pitcher's out. They don't know if he's out forever.
I've just about had it with the Yankees. I mean, a Yankee fan my whole life, to see you have a cat. What are they paying these general managers for? I mean, Cashman's, he's killing that team, what he's done over the years. And now he gets the number one prospect in baseball. He gives him up for Pineda, who had over a 5.20 ERA the second half of the year, in the biggest ballpark in baseball. So now they trade him to come to Yankee Stadium. Yeah. 5-point-something ERA for one of the best young hitters in baseball. What they're thinking is, okay, we trade Montero to Seattle. He's not going to hit like he would have hit in Yankee Stadium because Montero can go to all fields. He's got power to right field. Seattle, he goes to right field. It's almost 400 feet. Yeah. So his stats aren't going to be there. So we're not going to get burnt there.
Well, I'd encourage Red Sox fans to send applications to major league teams of why we should root for them. Why we should become an Oriole fan or maybe a Washington National fan. They've got a bright young player like Bryce Harper. Fun to watch.
He's 19 too, right?
Right. The kid's 19 years old. He had, base hit his first game. He's in the starting lineup. He's in the starting lineup to stay. Steals home against the guy who hit him in the backside just to show him.
Middlebrooks played with him, right?
Right.
He said he's unbelievable. He said he played with him in the Winter League, the top prospect.
Well, and the only place you get anything approaching purity is with young players who are trying to make a name for themselves.
That's what you want to see. That's why the Red Sox. But the problem they have now with Youkilis, they got to show Youkilis. If they're going to trade him, they can't just have him sit there.
Yeah.
They got to show that he can still hit if he's healthy.
Well,
so when he gets healthy, they got to put him out there.
What are the biggest problems? Management, entitlement mentality, no accountability for the players, and an incessant willingness to just constantly milk the fans for the $4.50 waters and everything else.
Well, it's worked for all this time, and Red Sox Nation, I mean, what does it cost to go to a game now? When I was a kid, I think about the $4 bleacher seats. You could show up on a Saturday, no shirt on, get a tan, stand out there. Someone would be bouncing a beach ball around. I mean, to me, that was more Red Sox Nation than this crap that they got going on. But
get a tuft of grass from the infield. Buy a brick.
I know.
Get your name inscribed in the infield dirt. How about getting some players who can catch the ball, hit the ball, and really want to be out there and compete?
Yeah, but the one thing I'd say about the Red Sox, though, just looking at the Red Sox, you lose Youkilis, Crawford, and Ellsbury. You lose those three players. I mean, I'd like to see another team lose those.
You're right. Going into
three players that are as talented as them.
Yeah.
You have Youkilis in that lineup. You have Ellsbury batting first, Pedroia second. I mean, my thing was Ellsbury first, Crawford second, because Ellsbury showed he can hit lefties. So you have two lefties batting first and second. You get speed. Pedroia third, Youkilis fourth. You got Gonzalez. You got Ortiz. I mean, that's a heck of a lineup if they're all there.
Yeah, and on paper,
but
you're
what it is?
right.
These three babies that they have in a rotation are killing them.
Well, like you said,
led by
run prevention. If you can't prevent runs, I mean, you can't go out and score 10 a game every game. And it doesn't seem like they can do that anymore.
Well, then two other lackeys. I mean, even though no one likes him, he's hurt, and Matt Suzaki's hurt.
Strength up the middle. The catching is awful. The starting pitching is awful. The shortstop has been adequate. the center fielding situation with Ellsbury out is awful.
Abysmal.
You know, the only thing I like about Marlon Byrd is he has two animal names combined.
Yeah, you know something though. You touched upon Washington. I mean, think about that though. They also have Strasburg, who he came back from Tommy John surgery. I mean, obviously it's no longer a death sentence, nor is it even a 2-year recovery anymore. And that kid looks like...
A lot of these guys throw better after Tommy John. Look at Hill. Hill's throwing the fastball
absolutely.
better.
Pineda's off the... Well, yeah, he's had the shoulder.
Well, they got it down now. I think they know how to go about not only the surgery itself, but the treatment,
rehab.
the recovery. They know how to go through the whole motions of it all. But, you know, with Strasburg and Hopper, I mean, geez, Washington, they might start selling out some games. They might get their own sold-out game streak going. You know, but if you can't root for them, there's always the Orioles. I mean, the man that really built the Red Sox, Dan Duquette, happens to reside over there.
I'm happy for him. They showed him in the skybox in one of the Red Sox games. It's nice to see. I mean, a guy that's been out of it for 9 years, and you know he's really missing it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Lou, and enlightening all of our free fans watching tonight.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court. With a year-round training philosophy, BBG can assist you in reaching your full potential as a player with conditioning, basketball fundamentals, position-specific training, and skills and drills taught by the best coaches in New England. For more information, visit our website at visionarybasketball.com or drop into our new athletic performance center located at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. VBG, complete your vision.
Welcome back. Tough break for the Yankees closer, one of the really nice guys in Major League Baseball, as well as the greatest closer in the history of baseball, Mariano Rivera, with a ACL injury, and not only that, he got a blood clot to follow up on it.
Yeah, he was fielding fly balls, which he always does. The Yankees let their pitchers do that. I mean, Rivera's a very good athlete, and you could see him. You saw it, right? He just twisted his knee. But the Red Sox now, their policy is that their pitchers can't catch fly balls in batting practice. They don't allow it. Some teams do, some teams don't, but that's a shame. But he said he's coming back now next year. He doesn't want to go out like this. I don't know what he's going to be coming back to because the Yankees are on their way down the tubes run.
Well, we've already talked about that. Now, before we get into the Celtics-Hawks, I want to say a little bit about basketball defense. We're strong believers in teaching young players defense first, offense second. Defense and rebounding win basketball games, and offense determines how much you win by. Our first emphasis is pressure on the ball, and you have to be a good defender more than anything else, you defend with your head. That is, you have to have the desire, the energy, the determination to stop your opponent. And the second thing is, aside from pressuring the ball, you have to be able to deny away from the ball. And that's the challenge that most basketball players and coaches face, is that most players can become pretty proficient at defending on the ball if they want to, but defending off the ball is a whole nother story. And how we try to improve that throughout the system is a real challenge that I've spent a lot of time thinking about.
Yeah, defense, especially defense on the ball, it's all about attitude run. You know, you got to be really tough, aggressive. You've got to be able to come through to beat the picks, either go above it or below it. You know, a couple of players we have that just beat every pick. I mean, that's so important in basketball. A lot of teams don't switch away from the basket. They'll switch their 4s and 5s down low, but they won't switch. So it's up to the person covering the ball handler to be able to beat the pick, come up off the pick, and stay close to the person they're covering so they can beat the pick. And again, it's all about attitude. And you see with the Celtics, Rondo has a terrible attitude when it comes to that. He is terrible, one of the worst players I've ever seen in basketball handling the pick. He's lazy, he won't work through it, and all he thinks about is stealing. You know, how many steals do I have a game? How many steals do I have? So that's not defense. He made the first team in the NBA 2 years ago, first defense. Right, one of the top 5 players he was rated because he was 3rd in the league in steals. They don't look at is how he is on the ball. He's a poor on-the-ball defensive player. It's all about attitude. He could be very good, Ron, but he doesn't want to be very good.
They say 70% of basketball defense is defending pick and roll and in the low post. Now, Steamsma looked like he was making really good progress defending the pick and roll. We talked about that. He's a tough defender. He does pick up stupid fouls, but some of that's being a rookie. You don't get any breaks on the calls. The guy who's concerning me, who's had some really bad plus-minus ratings, even though he's a good offensive player, is Bass. He seems to get lost all the time, and his guys get open.
Bass is not playing well. Once in a while he'll come in with an aggressive rebound, but he's not playing well. The other day, as a matter of fact, the Celtics won that game. It was a close game. They took Perkins out. Garnett came out. Bass played the 5. They went with a small lineup. Atlanta scores 4 baskets in a row. I'm screaming at Rivers. I'm saying, what are you doing? Bass cannot play the 5. Number one, he can't block a shot. Number two, he's not a great rebounder.
He doesn't seem to be able to move.
But he's not playing good, Ron.
He doesn't move his feet very well on defense, and I think he just gets – he can't recover in the National Basketball Association. They usually do what they call a hedge, or some people prefer to call it fake trap and recover. So that the screener's defender pops out, tries to force the defender, the guard, to the sideline, and then recover to your own player. And Bass just doesn't do that well.
Well, the problem he has, Ron, is he's too late coming up. So when he's moving, they're splitting him every time. So you see the guy come off the pick, and he's splitting between the person, the pick he's coming off from Bass. He's just cutting right in the middle of him, and he's beating him every time. He's too slow. I mean, last year, Big Baby, everybody says it was a great move, trading Big Baby. Well, during the season, Bass had a better regular season. Big Baby had a real good playoff series, even though they get knocked out. Played real good. Bass is not playing like Big Baby did a couple of years ago.
Well, as we film this show, the Celtics are playing the 6th game of the series tonight. They have some injury problems. Pierce has a sprained medial collateral ligament, and how that's going to show up. The longer the games go, the longer the series go. It's tough to win without your best player playing at peak efficiency. Bradley is playing with a partially separated shoulder / strained rotator cuff, and he doesn't look like the same guy right now.
Right. I'm worried, Ron. I'm worried because if Pierce can't play great because of his knee, they're going to lose. They're going to get knocked. They won't win the series.
Right, and we didn't even talk about Ray Allen, who's coming off a chronic ankle injury. I don't know if he's going to need some surgery in the offseason. So, we're not making excuses for the Celtics. We're not saying it's because they're old, because they've got injuries. It's going to be a tough uphill battle, especially since Horford came back.
Yeah, Horford's back now. He's playing good. He's quick. The Bass can't cover him. And even Garnett covering him. He's too quick for Garnett. He's not a force offensively as one-on-one player, but his quickness helps him. He rebounds, put back. He can hit the open shot. He's going to be tough for them. And Pierce has got to be healthy tonight. He has to have a big game. The one thing that drives me crazy, Ron, is especially these younger fans. Everybody says, all these younger people think that Rondo's the leader of this team. He's not the leader of this team. They keep saying he's the best player on the team. Number one, Garnett is by far still the best defensive player in basketball. When you talk about knowledge of understanding how to play, he's the one who keys the defense. Why do the Celtics win? Because of their defense, number one. They play great defense, all led by him, not Rondo. And Pierce is very good man-to-man defensive player. And then you got Bradley. Offensively, Rondo is not the key to that team. Pierce is the key to the team. If Pierce is playing well, hitting his shot, he moves the ball better in a half-court game than Rondo does. Rondo, to me, is useless in a half-court game.
Well, look at Game 2. Rondo's out because he's suspended for pushing the referee. And Pierce has an incredible game. I think he had 37 points, something like that. 14 rebounds. Controlled the offense. Unbelievable defensive rebounding. And all right, what can you say? Pierce is the man.
And that's right. And that drives me nuts when they say Rondo's the best player. He keys the team. Yeah, he's the point guard. He handles the ball. When you really think about it, Rondo handles the ball more than any other player in basketball. When he gives the ball up, he goes back to get it. constantly going towards the ball, right? And I have to agree, he's playing the best basketball of his career the second half of the year. He is playing the best basketball, but he's still not. Everybody says he's a great basketball. He's not a great basketball player.
Well, in Game 5, the end of the game, Rondo stole the ball 10 seconds to give or take, and tried to advance the ball, give Atlanta defense credit, but he's trying to run the offense from out near the hash mark on the side. You know, you create all kinds of weak side defensive opportunities. The more you can space the court, the more the other team has to defend the court. If you're on one side, especially over by the sideline, they teach the defenders to come all the way to the midline. So you get 5 defensive players in a very small area. Celtics didn't even get a shot.
Right. And I look at, you know, getting back to the Celtics, right? You know, Rondo's a very good basketball player, all right? He's not great. He's very good. At times, he could be the best player on the court at times. Problem is that 50% of the time he's not. 50% of the time in his half-court game he struggles. In the last game there, the Celtics got up 11-2. He was 1 for 6. You know, he has the worst touch when he drives. He can lay the ball in and he can hit an open jump shot once in a while. He'll score because, again, he has the ball in his hands most of the game. But you can't rely on him. His touch, he's got a real weak release. He guesses on every, you see him get in the lane, he guesses on every shot.
Well, the guy we haven't really talked about for the Hawks is Teague. He's been excellent.
He hits those crazy three-pointers every once in a while.
I mean, he's controlled the ball. He hasn't turned the ball over very much. You know, he takes, for the most part, pretty good shots because he has a lot of range. And, you know, obviously, you know, if Josh Smith has a big game, Celtics are in trouble.
And, you know, you look at it, I'm just hoping that they come up with a big game tonight. Again, you know, I want Rondo to play really well. If he gets into the flow early and the Celtics are playing well, you know him, he gets really confident and he plays real good.
Well, the table's
They've
set.
got to get in the flow, though.
The table's set for Miami. Obviously, with Derrick Rose's knee injury, that really hurts.
Well, Pierce's knee is going to be a key, too.
Oh, I know. You know, and it's hard to see the Celtics advancing. If Pierce is really hurt, it's hard to see him even advancing through this series.
If he's certain he can't play, he doesn't play well tonight, I don't see them beating Atlanta because Atlanta's confident coming into this game. They need to get into the flow early. You get Rondo feeling good. You get Allen hitting a couple of threes. Garnett playing well. You know, and who know? You know, they could play a solid game. But you know the thing, Ron. I mean, if they're as good as people think they are, I kind of think that they're overrated. The Celtics right now. I don't think they're as good as people think they are. I think because of this season where teams haven't been able to game plan for teams, it's given Rondo more freedom. But the deeper they get into the playoffs, the tougher it gets. But I think they're good enough to beat Atlanta. I think they're good enough to beat Philadelphia if they go up against Philly. I don't know if they're good enough to beat a Chicago team that's well coached.
What do you mean Miami?
No, Chicago Chicago beats Philly.
Well, I don't think Chicago's going to beat Philly.
Well, they beat them. They beat them the last game, and you know Thibodeau's a real good coach, and I think they're as good as Collins is as a coach. I think Chicago's
they got a
better
lot of talent.
coach team, and I think Chicago. If I had a bet, I'd say Chicago beats Philly. So if the Celtics play Chicago, it's going to be a tougher series.
Well,
if the Celtics get through by Atlanta, which it's all going to come down to how Pierce is doing.
Well, you can't take anything for granted. Now, there's a few other events that were noteworthy in baseball anyway. Number one has been Albert Pujols doing nothing for the Angels. I think he had 1 home run, he had over 100 at-bats without a home run. He won't talk to the press. Everybody's just unhappy out there. Number two is Josh Hamilton. He is lighting it up for the Rangers, who, to me, are the best team in baseball right now. Hamilton has 14 home runs, hit 4 in a game the other night.
And a double, too?
Yeah.
4 home runs and a double and 5 at-bats. How many RBIs did he have? He had 8.
8, right.
So all 4 home runs were 2-run homers, right?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
But Hamilton's a terrific player, and
he's got good players with him, too.
Well, and also, you know what happens at the end of the season? He's a free agent.
Yeah.
So, you know, he'll be able to write his own check. Now, he's the kind of guy, I hope he ends up in Texas. He's a franchise player.
He probably will.
I hope so. He's a franchise player. And I like to see guys stay with one team their whole career. I love the Cal Ripkins, the Al Kalines, Yastrzemski, Mickey Mantle.
And they love Ryan, too, out there. You know,
Oh, it's, you know, he doesn't go with this pitch count stuff.
You know, and he knows the game. I mean, you got a superstar like him, right? Hall of Famer. I mean, you're going to want to play for a owner like him. And with the talent they have, he's got a lot of good talent around him. That Young's a heck of a player, too. I mean, just talent all over the place in that team.
Now, the rumor is that Major League Baseball is trying to change a rule, which is baseball, so pure, so traditional. We can change nothing. You know, they do have instant replay home runs and boundary calls on instant replay. But the rule is they're going to get rid of the fake pick off to third, throw to first play, which, you know, first of all, you see it work one time every 5 years. And
half the time they balk on when they're doing it.
Well, you know, personally, I'll be happy to see that go because it's boring, and it seems like deception hardly ever works in baseball.
Well, the rule is when you do that, you're supposed to, you can't fake the throw to third. You're supposed to actually make a move like you're going to pick them off at third.
Right.
And it's got to be a move like when your intent was to throw the ball, but then you decided in the last second not to throw it. I mean, that's the rule. But now these pitchers are just turning, faking like, I mean, you know, the umpire knows that there's no attempt to try to throw the runner out.
And supposedly, you're not supposed to be able to balk going to second base. But the other night, Bard practically threw the ball home and then turned around and threw. That was the stupidest play ever. Now,
He went towards, I didn't see it. He went towards home?
He went toward home. It was ridiculous. I mean, Bard, I think he's a college graduate from North Carolina. He's a smart guy. You know, I'm sympathetic to his desire to make millions of dollars because he can throw a baseball hard. But, you know, he's just making a lot of dumb mistakes on the mound.
Yeah, some of those pitchers have a great move to second base when they spin around. But, the home, when you kick your leg up, it's got to start with that spin. You can't go to home.
You know, when I
Pettit has the best
when
move.
I was playing in the Intercity League, I had a good move to second base, but I made one of those pickoff moves and beamed the runner diving head first into second. You know, and he had to come out of the game. I mean, obviously, I wasn't trying to. I mean, how you wouldn't be able to hit the guy intentionally if you tried, but it was, you know, not a good injury.
You know the best move when I used to love calling this when I coached Babe Ruth when it was bases loaded. The runner on first base thinks that, the other team's an idiot. They're idiots. He thinks he can go 10 steps off first because his runner's on second and third,
right,
and he's not looking at him. We used to time the pick off to first. First baseman's way behind him, so that's what he thinks. Before he knows that the first baseman's cutting, the pitcher turns, and you pick him off every time. Well, I mean, Babe Ruth, they're constantly doing that.
Right. We had to play in college that if you had bases loaded, obviously, the pitcher had the choice whether to pitch from the stretch or the windup, and the catcher would put his hand together with one hand in the glove. Pitcher would be same way on the mound. The shortstop would sneak in, and when the catcher pulled his hands apart, then you'd wheel and throw to second. And I saw people get picked off with that play. It was a terrific play, which is, very seldom in baseball do you see strategic plays that are really cleverly done.
That's good. I've seen some coaches like Lexington High used to run this play, right? Pick off to second base, right? The pitcher, the guy would go diving back in. The pitcher would throw the ball. The shortstop would look up in the air and go out to the start running to the outfield. I would never coach like that. It's almost like you're cheating there.
Well, there was another play that this happened, I think, in the minors. The catcher had a potato in his hand. In his pocket. So he took the, potato out, had the ball in his glove, threw it to first base wildly. The runner then leaves, and then the catcher takes the ball out of his glove. The catcher got thrown out of the game. The old fake potato baseball trick.
Before we end, who do you pick now to make the playoffs in the American League?
Well, I've still got, I got Tampa, and
well, you had the Yankees. You still have the Yankees.
Yeah, I still have the Yankees, and I love the Rangers. I think the Rangers are fantastic. The Angels, I don't know. I don't think so. The Angels look terrible right now.
Yeah, and Detroit. How about Detroit?
They're not looking that
great.
great.
They looked great at the beginning. My prediction is that the Red Sox and Yankees do not make it. The Yankees are going to get worse and worse as a team. The Red Sox, there's something wrong there with their pitching staff. Those guys are all knuckleheads, and it's really a shame. And they're hurting.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.